We finally won. We finally won. Our season is back on track. Collingwood, thank God. Happy Easter. Let's get into it. So before we do get into it, happy Easter for all those who celebrate. If you don't celebrate, I hope you have a good long weekend and you still get to enjoy a little bit of the chocolate. But look, this game, oh my God. I'm recording this at 12:15 in the morning. I wanted to watch a little bit more of the replay and the highlights and everything everyone was saying. But it's a huge weight off our shoulders. It is... Oh my! We finally won. We won a game, right? Going into this game, though, I was pretty confident. I know I said in my preview the Pies by 1 point, but as the sort of day went on today, I was very confident. I was like, okay, cool. I have a weird feeling that this might be the game where it kickstarts our season, and we needed to win this game by not a lot, like not 50 points, but we needed to win this game convincingly and not scrappily. Like we needed to show Collingwood DNA, like that we've been getting in parts. And I think we showed it. I think we played to about 80% of what we were last year, and that's good. It was still scrappy. Like in that first quarter, it was still a little bit turnovery. Brisbane kicked 40 or high 40s from our turnover, so that can still be improved. But in the last 3 games, we've been averaging 79 points scored from our turnovers. So that's a heaps good improvement, right? So that's fantastic. And I think last year we went at about 69 or something, or whatever it may have been. So that's a good improvement. So that was a little bit scrappy at the start, just with how we were playing. Then that but we still kicked a bunch of goals, right? Bobby Hill kicked 3 goals in that first quarter. Just absolutely, and loves playing against Brisbane. Loves playing against Brisbane. Then the second quarter happens. And Brisbane I feel like they had about 20 inside 50s in that quarter, and they were just pressuring. They were doing everything they can to score, and they kicked 4 goals. We didn't kick not even 1 point. And our defense just really held up. I think, we saw Sydney do it, we saw GWS do it, St Kilda a little bit, but more the two New South Wales teams. If this game was played 3 weeks ago and Brisbane did that to us, we're conceding 6, 7, 8 goals in that quarter. To only concede, 4 goals in that quarter, I know we didn't score anything, but to only concede 4 goals, that's fantastic, right? Our defense, Darcy Moore, Billy Frampton, an unsung hero, Will Hoskin-Elliott doing what he does best down there as well. Q, Jeremy Howe, I think everybody really stood up, especially in that back line. But when that second quarter happened, Collingwood just stopped. Brisbane played their game like that we know they were going to. There was, first quarter, a lot of pressure, a lot of running, a lot of Collingwood DNA. Second quarter was back to the last Collingwood of the last three games. And it just wasn't fun to see. I was sitting there and just bleeding that we let them score 4 goals and that we didn't kick not even one bloody point. We barely got it up there. I think we got it up there less than half a dozen times. But then the second quarter happens. We kick 5 goals in that second quarter to 1 goal. And then it was just so good to see, because I feel like this game, in the second half, we kicked 9 goals in the second half to their 5, which is fantastic. I feel like this game was great because, look, there was a couple of standouts. Jamie Elliott kicking 4, Mychek 3, Hill 3. Nick Dacos did really well, 30 disposals, lots of score involvements, 600 and something metres gained. Jordan DeGoey, John Noble on his return. So there was a couple of standouts, but I feel like it was evenly distributed. It wasn't just one guy pulling everyone to come and play. I feel like the older guys that we were sort of, is it the end of an era? Are the older guys done? Pendles, Mitchell, Crisp, Jeremy Howe. They really stood up. It was a game. We looked very mature in this game. Like, it was like, foot down, we need to make a statement here. And that's the Collingwood that we saw. And that's the Collingwood that we love, right? It was foot down, and we made a statement like, okay, here we are. Those first 3 weeks was shithouse by everyone's admission. And we come out and we play this type of football that we know we can play. And it was good. It was just monkey off the back, weight off the shoulders, and we can go into next week's game against Hawthorn at Adelaide really confident. And it's not a 6-day or 7-day turnaround. It is next, not this Sunday. This obviously not this Sunday. Why would I even say that? The next Sunday, right? So it's a good long break. The guys can reset. They can come back and just absolutely have a go at Hawthorn. So a little bit more about sort of everyone that sort of played in this game. Finn McRae was starting, right? We've been calling out for Finn to start. So he started. Jack Crisp was the substitute. So Finn didn't have a good first half. I think he had 3 disposals. In the third quarter, he was, I wouldn't say starting to get into it. I think he had 1 tackle in the third quarter, 2 or 3 disposals. But then he got subbed off for Jack Crisp. Jack Crisp gave us actually a little bit more, or a lot more than Finn did, which is fair enough because, Crisp is a senior player. I had a lot of people message me saying, why did they take Finn off? His confidence is going to be shot. But I think starting Finn as a sub for 2 weeks was good. Get him, into the AFL system. Starting him in this game was good. Let's see how we can do against the big-bodied Brisbane team. I still would have liked for him either to be a sub or just have a full game in the VFL and then come in for the Hawthorn game and play against a younger side. Brisbane just came off a grand final, obviously, right? So give Finn a start with a midfield that's sort of his age and his sort of skill level. And that's Hawthorn, that's West Coast, that's North Melbourne as well. So I probably wouldn't have started Finn, but I'm sort of glad they did. And I think McRae, Craig McRae was just listening to what supporters were saying, and that's why he started Finn, just with the pressure. Does he play? He would have to play next week. He would have to play next week. What I did love was pressure pies, right? We were very pressured in the first 3 rounds. 85 tackles to 53. That's plus 32 in tackles. I think that's our highest since like 2015 or 2016 or something crazy like that. Tackles inside forward 50, 16 to 9. And that was being led by Jamie Elliott and Lachie Schultz. Lachie Schultz has been a lot of talk about him. We gave up the first round for him, and I understand that. I get that. Especially when we're going shit, I understand that. But Lachie Schultz does a lot off screen and a lot that isn't just goals that people don't or people forget about. And that's pressure acts. That's, tackles inside 50. And that's what he does. He's a defensive forward, if you will. Yes, he kicked 30 goals at Fremantle. He was never going to kick that many goals at the Pies. He does lots of other things. And like John Noble, right, he comes in, 88% efficiency, 25 or 26 disposals, setting up from halfback. Nick Dacos coming into the halfback line and playing that sort of quarterback role again. There was lots of positional changes that I really, really loved. But there was also lots of room for improvement. Craig McRae always says we're not a finished product. And you can see that we were definitely not a finished product. We played 3 quarters of good football. I'd love to see 4 quarters of good football. But at least we saw something. They gave us something finally. And honestly, the first 3 weeks looked like the hunger was gone. It really did. And now it's like they said, you know what? Nah, fuck it. Let's get into it. Let's get it. Let's show Brisbane why we won the grand final. Let's just shut everyone up. It's backs against the wall, Collingwood, and I love backs against the wall, Collingwood, and that's what we got to see. And it was just great viewing for the long weekend. So now we've played a couple Thursday night games, and now we get to enjoy the rest of our weekend. They can stop talking about us. Thank God they can stop finally talking about us, and they can start talking about Brisbane 0-3. Because I saw someone on Twitter say, what's worse than winning a premiership and starting your season 0-3? It's losing a grand final and starting your season 0-3. But in saying that, I do feel for Brisbane. I thought they played mediocre. They played okay. They should have really challenged us a little bit more just because they had that 12-day break. In the second quarter, they did really well. Lachie Neale is just an absolute jet. Charlie Cameron, all these sort of guys, they probably should have challenged us a little bit more. I'm glad that they didn't, but they should have. But I know how it feels starting 0-3. So I empathise with them and I empathise with their supporters. So thankfully we're off that and we've got a win on the board now, thankfully. And then, if we win next week against Hawthorn, we're 2-3 and it looks a little bit better than 0-3, right? So the last thing I sort of want to talk about is the Scott Pendlebury love tap. It's hard. George Hewitt didn't get a week for what he done. And I've been of the thought that if you're doing any of those things, you should get suspended. It should be a week suspension. Punches in the guts and stuff like that. I know it was an open hand punch in the, or slap in the stomach, because Pendlebury retaliated from Lachlan Neale pushing him into the umpire, whatever it may have been. But George Hewitt didn't get suspended. Lachlan Neale did the same thing last season and only got a fine. I know we can't base it on last season because the rules have changed a little bit. But George Hewitt this season didn't get suspended. And there was someone else that didn't get suspended either. I can't remember. So I think with Pendlebury's clean record as well, I think he only gets fined. I don't see it being as a suspension because I think Lachlan Neale milked it a little bit. Pendlebury shouldn't have done what he done. Not justifying anything that Pendlebury did. Shouldn't have done what he done. I think it's still just a fine based on the George Hewitt thing, and there was that other one that I just can't quite put my finger on. That probably won't get a week in my opinion. If it was a closed fist, sure, give him a week. I think it's just a fine, but we'll see. And like Pendlebury said at the end of the game, it is what it is. If he's suspended for a week, he's suspended for a week. He gets a week off rest anyway. They won't fight it. It's early in the season, so if he gets a week, he gets a week. It is what it is. But that was just incredible, an incredible game. I'm happy John Noble got a run, and I'm so. It's good. It's a really good feeling, and I'm stoked. I'm stoked for all of you guys. All Collingwood supporters, that we finally get opposition supporters off our back. That's what we want, and I'm wearing my Premier's tee as well. Because I need to bring this out because of the lines. But let me know your thoughts down below. As always, I love to read your thoughts. And until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shakers. I'll see you later.